Okay. So, there's another 10 floating around in here, right? Really pass it off. Somebody had, it's in the corner. You're going to do your first round with a 5 just because of the learning curve on this one. But this should be something that when we get more comfortable with it, 10s and 15s all around on this. But there is an awkwardness to this you'll need to figure out first. So, 2 things we have to cover move-wise before we actually flow this whole thing together. What it says is alternating lateral mace lunge with ballistic curls, but there's 2 different moves that we need to work on. So everybody can grab their mace, please, and stand facing me. And they're going to be able to see mace in left hand, hand on the right. So what you're doing when you're doing that is I got one hand down here by the head of the mace. The other one is down at the very end of the handle, and I am trying to separate the mace. This hand is trying to pop the head off. This hand is trying to put tension on the metal. It's like I'm trying to stretch it out. I'm generating tension. I'm also not wrist up like this. I'm trying to roll my knuckles down toward the ground. And if at any point I came along and I tried to take your mace away, you should be holding it tight enough that if I come and try to take it away from you, it's not going to come away from your body. You're not going to let me slap it out of your hands. It's tight. It's your weapon. You don't want to lose your weapon. You're a dead man without it. So you're holding on to it very, very tight. And you want to flip your other hand over, so your other hand like this end. And what we're going to do, the ballistic curl is just learning to switch hands. We could just do that. But half of the rules of mace training is everything has to look cool as shit. So how do we do that and make it look cool? The answer is by never taking your hands off. If it's your weapon and you never want to let someone have it, you need to be able to switch hands very efficiently and quickly without losing your grip. So what we're doing is making a ballistic curl, and I'm going to slow that down. I'm throwing it in the air, keeping the elbows pinned next to the ribs, and the hands are simultaneously sliding past each other in a prayer position. And you hear that. Did you hear how that sounded? So you will hear, if I had the sound off, switching hands. The hands are running along the surface. We're not casting the mace way up here. It's not that. It's right here in front of you. Switch. Switch. And when you're ready, I'd like you to begin and practice a couple of those switch curls. So it's never ever out of either hand. The hands are sliding past one another. And when you hit that position, it's locked in place, tension on the handle. Switch. Switch. You try that. Put that hand down here nice and tight. So in one smooth move, we're going to toss and switch. The hands slide past each other. Imagine the hands sliding past each other on that curl. Shouldn't feel incredibly complicated. It will take hundreds and hundreds of repetitions before you feel like it's just smooth. But this in and of itself is not a killer exercise. We're not going to burn a ton of calories, but there are so many other things with the mace that when we ask you to switch hands, that's how it's done. So you need to be very proficient at that switch curl because a lot of the other things that are going to get more complex or complicated require the ability to switch hands. And that's how we switch hands. So keeping that in mind, the other one that we're going to work on is a lateral lunge. So I'm going to start with my feet together, and I'm, as a general suggestion, it's not a rule, I prefer to step away from the mace head or the mace ball. So I'm going to step away from the weight and hit a good looking lateral lunge. And at the bottom of this, the knee is locked, and you'll notice the mace and the knee are at a similar angle. And I'm touching the ground, and I'm just going to come back together. So we're taking a step away from the weight, pushing the weight into an evenly distributed foot, reaching down and matching the angle of that leg with the mace. I'm getting a tremendous inner thigh stretch. So everybody got the weight in the left hand. Let's try a couple of those. We'll be stepping out to the right side. Let's do 3 of those. So I'm going to go out, down, touch the ground, up and together. Out and down, touch the ground. Come back together and do one more. Now, ballistic curl switch. And now we're stepping the other way for the other leg. So step out, reach down, match the angle, step together. Reach out, big inner thigh and hamstring stretch. One more. Cool. basic lateral lunge. There's nothing too crazy about that, aside from the fact that most people don't do lateral lunges a lot. So if you're not the type of person who has incorporated those, that stretch is the focus. Most people, when they're doing regular lunges, that's one type of stretch. But if you're not used to getting the inner thigh and that knee to stretch, this does not have to be heavy. It may feel easy while we're going through it, but tomorrow and the next day, you may be very, very aware of hamstrings that you weren't aware of. So how do we put that together and make it look cool? So it's a combination of skill, fitness, and the ability to think on your feet. So we're going to take that whole thing and sequence it together where we alternate sides. It's going to look like this. So I'm alternating the direction of my lunge and simultaneously switching so that the weight's still on the appropriate side. That's hard to make smooth. So the goal, like I said, is to make it look cool, because cool means smooth and smooth means power. So it's not because it has to be cool, but if you're clunky, you're missing out on something. The connection to the weight, your ability to control yourself. So take your time, make sure you got room, and you're not gonna run into each other. And I'd like you to try alternating lunges for 10 on each side. So it's gonna go to one side, switch, the other. That'll be one. Switch, two, switch, two. Slow enough that you feel confident about what you're doing. Whenever you're ready. Yours is a lighter version. That's also another way to do it, but having them step apart and step together increases the stepping away from the weight. So if it's on this side, I'm going to step away from the weight. Switch. 10 of those each way, working on establishing a confident rhythm. It's okay? Yeah. It's okay? Both sides feel normal. There's not one side that was way harder than the other, or one stretch that felt different than the other. It's all normal? It's good? Okay, cool. Let's take a minute, and we're going to run through that again. A little more confidence, a little more aggression. Just trying to make it something where you're moving with more purpose. It's a purposeful movement. So.